War is ever present, unyielding and unchanging, but yet we could change it, tuck it away, hide it in place where it would never be seen again. But that would go against our nature, our instincts, and before those are somehow mystically changed, there will be no peace. Sun shines from high, yet the sky is not blue, but tinted yellow and red with heavy white clouds hanging so low and thick that it could easily be mistaken for a formation of blimps. What little light makes it through the dust and cloud cover over the battlefield casts dark shadows over the ravaged land. The sound of artillery fire undulates from side to side over the front line as volleys are met with volleys, and nothing changes but the places of the shell marks on the shredded field between the lines. On both sides, life happens in the trenches that look not unlike blood vessels when viewed from above. Equally, when life is poured from these veins, it quickly perishes and clots on the field. There is no clearer evidence of eternal yet futile violence than the piles of finger bones that start to accumulate near scattered trees or under any perch where carrion birds sit, while they pick at the blown apart body parts they carry from the field at night. Each man in the battalion has abandoned hope. The command is in, and out and over they will go, just a heartbeat before dawn tomorrow. At this point in the war, they know that there is no victory, there is no coming back. Whatever great adventure death brings along will no longer be a secret to them by dawn's early light tomorrow morning. It brings a calm and centered feeling to know that this is where the road ends, where the candle goes out in the wind. The empty faces betray no emotion, as fear has been wrung out of them, like trench water from socks at shift's end. This glorified ditch has been here for so long that rot has set in the planks covering the floor of the dugout. None of the men were here when the trench was dug, and none of them will see it filled. In a couple of years from now, no man among the fated battalion has neither the will or strength to think of the future. They exist here and now, for however many breaths they still have to take. The captain sits against the side with his head hung heavy. It is his command to give, but it came from higher up. He is relatively fresh in this hellscape, and for him there was still the fleeting illusion of living through it. But now he sees the truth of it all, and whatever dreams of glory he had are melting away like snowflakes on the barrel of a chain gun. He rises to his feet, and with what little resolve he has left in him, goes over to the sergeant major and has him distribute what the troops have started calling the last rites. A thin piece of bundt cake and a dash of cognac. Anyone going over gets a taste of the good life for the journey. Some might say this is an act of cruelty, reminding the men of the things they are about to sacrifice. Others think it's a kindness, as it reminds them what the sacrifice is for. The somber ceremony is interrupted by the shouts of the trench guard. Alert! Alert! Intruder in the trench! The platoon scrambles on their feet, stuffing what was left of the cake to their mouths and hands reaching for the bayonets. Frantic shouting, running, organized and fueled by anger, hatred and sudden will to live, the men head towards the sound of the alert. Turning the corner, the main body of the platoon reaches a small alcove in the trench, dedicated to storing medical supplies. Wooden crates lined with waxed cloth to keep the cotton swabs and bandages dry and clean are racked about a meter high, and then covered with a tarp hanging over them like a tent. The men are shocked to find the guard pointing his rifle at a skeletal wisp of a man, dirty and starving, with strange oriental features. The man has his hands in the air, babbling some unknown language. The troops pull the man on his feet and tie his hands, drag him down the trench the 100 meters to platoon command and place the prisoner in front of the captain. The sky turns increasingly purple and then darkness falls as the sun sets somewhere outside the battlefield bubble of hell. The captain is at a loss, unsure how to question the prisoner who clearly doesn't speak a word of any of the languages this mixed group of soldiers on the western side of the battle lines. Why are the Germans sending Chinese spies, and why send such an emaciated and clearly sick one? The prisoner keeps babbling away, trying to explain something. Thinking it might help, the captain asks the guard to let his hands free, and as the man gesticulates, he sees that the prisoner's hands have deep cuts, markings of being tied for extended periods. This is a prisoner, the captain mutters aloud. The prisoner's eyes hide nothing, casting desperate fear instead of tears his dried-up body is almost unable to produce. Captain has his adjutant bring water, and with some unknown mutterings of immense gratitude, the man gulps down the mug, and with eyes so sorely begging for more, extends his hands towards the adjutant. The good captain finds that there is still some empathy in him, even in this hell, and he nods approvingly to his aide, who fills the man's cup again. On the captain's table, or the old cider crate that stands as the ersatz, his portion of the last rites still linger on the small tin plate, as he had planned to enjoy it with a cup of tea like a civilized man. He hands the plate to the prisoner, who first looks up at him incredulously, then slowly takes the plate and smells the offering, then delicately, like a priest handling communion favors, breaks a piece of the cake and eats it. The captain sits back down on his block of wood and watches as the man slowly eats the rest of the cake, and then finishes the cup of water. He can't but marvel at the incredible self-control of the prisoner, who whilst clearly starving is able to hold back and eat slowly. When the cake is gone and the cup empty, the prisoner bows deep on his knees with his hands stretched out like one would see a Turk praying. The captain recognizes the gesture as gratitude and shakes his head, gesturing to the man to rise, as his Christian duty is not to be praised, not in this hell. With a whisper of new life, the prisoner looks the captain deep in the eyes and starts telling a story in his strange and unknown language, his hands theatrically gesticulating, his voice rising and falling with the turns of the story. Whilst the meaning of the words escape the captain, the wider story starts to form. The man was captured once more. He holds his hands above his head in the mark of surrender, and then crosses them to show that he was hung from them. He smacks his lips and rubs his belly while growling to indicate being starved and denied water, then mimics hard labor, digging, dragging, wiping sweat. He then hangs his head slowly, rocking and mumbling, as if to tell that he doesn't know how long this lasted. Then suddenly he makes a stabbing motion with his hands and mimics boxing, then mimes running, ducking left and right. So he escaped, the captain thinks. The man babbles along, still miming running, turning, ducking, running again, turning right, left, right, then jumping, then covering in darkness, hiding, then running once more. The man gets on all fours and crawls in place, stopping to sound out artillery fire. Then finally he looks up with hands raised, repeating what the trench guards yelled at him. "Handesuappu!" He repeats again, each time little quieter, until only his lips move and no voice escapes. The man claims to have escaped from his captors and ended up in the medical stockpile, crawling through the no man's land. "You crawled through the hell above?" the captain asks, miming crawling, and then points up towards the incessant shelling sounds. The man blinks slowly and then shakes his head, mouthing yeah, then mimes crawling again and makes a diving motion with his hands. The captain is shocked. The man claims to have crawled under the no man's land. He jumps on his feet and starts trying to convey to the man the command, "Show me where you came through." It takes a couple of seconds for the man to understand that he is not being berated, but then he starts nodding vigorously and leads the captain, the guard and the aide back to the medical stockpile. There in the back of the crates, behind hanging roots of trees, a small dark passage opens, quickly ramping downwards. The guard shines a light down the hole, and it seems to go on as long as the lantern light carries. The man gestures at the hole with one hand and at his chest with the other. "Well, I'll be damned," the good captain utters, taking his hat off as he bends down to look into the hole. The Germans, like the dirty rats they are, have been tunneling underneath, and this hole goes all the way to the other side. Suddenly, the captain finds a brand new purpose, a task more important than the valiant but futile command to go over in the morning light. There may still be hope left in this world, and the captain is sure he can capture it. The world machine is a work of fiction, names, characters, and places, And incidents either are products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual events or locales or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental, thus cruelly disappointing those who fight in wars started by dictators' forlorn dream of past glories.